aid, workforce development. The bottom line is we stand ready to support our community. Unfortunately, the state seems content to watch, wish, and wait the pandemic away. You know, in Spanish, there's a saying, no avientes la pierda y escondes la mano. That basically means you know you threw a rock, you know you've done something wrong, and yet you're trying to hide the hand, you're trying to hide from your responsibility. It's difficult to say that Governor Abbott has proven that he can't be trusted to care. It's difficult to say, but research shows Harris County Latinos were 150% more likely to die in July of 2020 than they were in July of 2019. This is a result you get when Governor Abbott, or should I say Governor Absent, stays in charge. Recently, Governor Abbott puffed his chest, announcing the state would extend its eviction diversion program. One problem, though, the state program is poorly designed. In that announcement, Abbott was quoted as saying, "This innovative partnership, coupled with the renters assistance provided through CARES Act funding, will strengthen our economic recovery efforts and provide a lifeline to renters and property owners alike." Here's the reality. That innovative partnership includes an organization that is currently on a 2-week vacation. Struggling renters like Mercedes aren't getting any breaks. There are no days off for them, their families, their children, and it's unconscionable that those families during this holiday season should be risking evictions. Governor, I simply say, don't spit in our face and tell us it's raining. To the best of our knowledge, the state program hasn't issued $1 to those in need. And there's no way to prove otherwise despite promising transparency. There's no public accounting of how Texas uses CARES money. Harris County, conversely, posts online every dollar of CARES money that has been spent and will be spent. We have spent more than half of our allocation to help families and businesses that are in need, and you can find it all on the county's website. And we demand the state to do the same. Texas currently sits on billions with a B, that could be put to work to help folks who are struggling. But there's no current or coherent plan that we've seen. If you listen to the governor, we should just trust his office to spend that money wisely. Forgive me if I don't believe you, Governor Abbott. We've seen over and over again he's not built to lead during a crisis. That's why it's critical that this latest round of $25 billion of rental relief goes directly to municipalities and to counties like Harris County rather than to be routed through the state. The state has shown time and time again it cannot be counted on to get help directly to the people who need it the most. It's clear we can't count on Abbott and Austin to get it done. Here in Harris County, we don't take breaks. We work hard every day for the hard-working people who live here, proving local government is most responsive to what's happening on the ground. Today, we say there's help here in Harris County. If you are close to being kicked out of your home, unfortunately, at risk of an eviction, that will stay with you long after it happens. Please access the assistance we made available to you. Visit stoptxeviction.org or call 1-800-733-8394. Bilingual operators will guide you away from the guesswork and tell you what can be done to help. Again, that's stoptxeviction.org or call 1-800-733-8394. Don't let tough times be made worse by a mark on your permanent record. StopTXEviction.org. I'll now turn it over to my colleague, friend, and Precinct 1 leader, Commissioner Rodney Ellis.
Thank you, Commissioner. And Mercedes, thank you so much for telling your story, Ms. Taylor. I'm so glad you are a SEIU member. Lacey Wolf with the Gulf Coast Area Labor Federation, you all do an outstanding job with all of your colleagues in labor. The purpose of this event today is to make the case that we are taking it to the streets. And the sign in front of me says it all, Representative Wiley. Visit stoptxeviction.org to find out about financial aid and legal resources available to you. Here's what's so scary. Public health researchers at UCLA showed that lifting eviction moratorium increased COVID-19 incidents and increased the mortality rate across this country. Renters make up a disproportionate percentage of the households in Harris County. About 45% of the population in Harris County rents. That's 703,000 households. People of color are most at risk. This summer, 54% of the Hispanics in Texas had no confidence in their ability to pay next month's rent, compared to 37% for African Americans and 22% for white Texans. In Houston, black renters pay a higher percentage of their income towards rent, meaning they're already housing insecure before this pandemic. As Commissioner Garcia said, if you get evicted, the long-term impact puts you so deep in a hole, it's insurmountable, almost impossible to get out. Evictions show up on court records, can remain on credit reports up to 7 years. And you only get it off in 7 years if somebody helps you to get it off. This can hurt one's credit score and ability to find safe and decent housing. Evictions often result in temporary dislocation, which can disrupt employment. One study found that chances of a worker losing their job is estimated at 11 to 22% higher for individuals who have been forced out of their home compared to those of us who do not. So this is important. As Adrian said, Harris County has done a great job. We've been completely transparent. All you got to do is get online. There's even a dashboard to make it real simple so you can figure out where the money went. And by the way, even before we use our federal dollars, we tipped into our rainy day fund for direct assistance and for your small business assistance program. Later on, we were able to get reimbursed for small business, but we couldn't for the direct assistance program because we wanted to make sure, as Mercedes said earlier, she made reference to her roots. Immigrants built this country, and we wanted to make sure that we did not leave anybody behind. They paid taxes too, and that's why we dipped in our rainy day fund. But the state of Texas, I challenge you. If you can figure out where the money went, would you please tell me? Would you please tell Representative Wiley and all of his colleagues, because they have been asking as well. I'm so glad that the House of Representatives led the way with pushing to get this next package of relief funding. I'm glad that in a bipartisan effort, the Senate came along. I regret it took so long for the president to sign it, but he did sign it. And I'm glad now the House of Representatives federally is saying, fine, Mr. President, you want each individual that qualifies to get $2,000? The House is for it. Do it. This is only a down payment. I predict that when the new administration goes in Washington, more help is on the way. On the local level, Commissioner Garcia, I'm real proud of all of the things that we spent money on. You went through a list of them. A lot of people can't get to this site because they don't have internet connectivity. The county invested money in that, and not just for people in unincorporated. We made sure that on virtually all of the assistance we've done, we included people who qualified. We didn't care if you were in his precinct, my precinct, or the other two precincts. We didn't care if you were in Pasadena or in the city of Houston. If you had Payne, Mercedes, we let you participate. You mentioned that you live near Hobby Airport. I want to challenge the state of Texas to show us where the money went. And I think that makes the case to the incoming Biden administration to do more. Cities and counties and states ought to follow the lead of Harris County and not take this money and try and use it for things that your local dollars should have paid for anyway. And my suspicion is that's what Governor Abbott and the state of Texas have been doing with the CARES money. So with that, to keep us moving, I want to bring up my state representative. He might be one of yours, Commissioner Garcia. I just have a little bit with him. But I knew him when he was a student at the University of Houston, and he's doing a great job representing us in the State House, Representative Armando Wale.
Good morning, buenos dias. My name is State Representative Armando Wale, and I'm proud to be here standing next to our Commissioner Adrian Garcia in the precinct of which he represents here at the Jim Fontino complex. But also there's actually a JP court, I think, here right next door. So it's symbolic as well. And obviously my good friend Commissioner Ellis and the work that he's done. And he actually, for those that you guys don't know, he actually gave me my first job in politics as an intern in the Texas Legislative Internship Program. So I'm always proud to be associated with Senator Ellis or Commissioner Ellis, and obviously Lacey and Jay and with the AFL-CIO. Appreciate all the work that you guys are doing, particularly on the advocacy front, but also on the policy front in trying to get resources and amplifying those voices like Mercedes, because she's not the only one. She's symbolic of the many, many people in Harris County, but the many people in this state and across the country that are suffering because of the lack of leadership at many levels. And one of those levels, as mentioned before, is at the state level. And I get a chance to see on a daily basis what happens at the state level, being on the Appropriations Committee, seeing where these dollars go. Every session this past session, we passed what roughly was about a $250 billion two-year budget. In my time on the Appropriations Committee, I've been able to see where these dollars go. And Commissioner, being a former state senator, chair of the Finance Committee, you get to know where these nooks and crannies are. And a lot of members don't know where their money goes. A lot of the public don't know where the money goes. And so if we fast forward to this particular issue, budgets, but also the allocation of that money, and where these budgets, in our view, budgets are a moral document. They tell us what we value as a society, what we value as a community, and what we value here in Harris County, Commissioner. And I've appreciated the work that Judge Hidalgo, Commissioner's Court, has done to put people first, right? Put our local communities, vulnerable communities, at the forefront of our relief and recovery efforts in Harris County, mainly obviously at the public health component, but also in the relief component and the dollars that you have put in, your own dollars, but also CARES Act dollars that you put in to relieve the stress on families. And look, unfortunately, we're not able to help everybody, but I know there's a lot of resources that are going into helping people in this Stop Texas Eviction program, right? And so I know our friends over at Lone Star Legal Aid are doing a great job in trying to respond. I know their phones are ringing off the hook, literally, in the amount of people that need help with preventing their evictions. And so a couple of things I want to point out too. One, we do need an accounting of where those dollars are going at the state level. And I'm going to be requesting the governor do that, because the state of Texas has gotten well over $11 billion in CARES Act dollars. Where that money has gone, we need to know how those resources were allocated. Some of those dollars did go to a diversion program. We need to know how many people are being helped by that program, right? To see if the efficiency of that program. But to be honest with you, the state needs to just throw some money over to our friends over at Lone Star, our legal aid components of partners, so that they can hire the infrastructure. And not that they haven't already done so, but ramp up their help of people that need eviction. Because most people that are going through the eviction process don't have a lawyer. They don't have legal representation showing up with you at the JP courts. And we've seen already here in Harris County where some judges interpret the CDC moratorium differently than others. Some are very accommodating to, and I'm just from what I understand, very accommodating to allowing legal aid folks to come in and do a briefing for those folks that need help, and some that don't, right? So for us, I think it's important that we have a statewide eviction moratorium. So that's why I've filed and will file legislation to implement a statewide eviction moratorium during a pandemic or a natural disaster. That will be filed pretty soon in the coming days. We also, to your point, Commissioner Ellis, the administrative and the burdensome, the problem with folks that get evicted, having that on their record. So we're going to file legislation to also try to streamline that process and implement policies to if you're going through the eviction process during a pandemic, right, during a pandemic or natural disaster, that blemish on your record, on your credit report, is taken off, right? So we're going to be filing legislation to do that. And I think that's important from a statewide perspective, because the work that you guys have done on Commissioner's Court has been, and obviously wearing a different hat with Judge Hidalgo, and I want to thank her for appointing me as, not recovery, but relief and recovery czar. But you guys at Commissioner's Court have done a great job in putting these folks that really need the help first. And I'm proud to be associated with the court. Look, elections matter, right? Elections matter. And I don't know that we would be doing the things that we are doing now if we had a different court. That's just a fact.
We wouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
And so it matters that you have these two folks, a county judge that really is understands the needs of working people, hard-working people like Mercedes. These are not folks that are lazy, the stereotype that people might have. These are hard-working people that, but for this pandemic, but on top of that, but for the ineptitude of some leaders to not put people first. I think that's even more of a travesty. Because when we created the Housing Stability Task Force to do a lot of this work, I mentioned at that press conference with Judge Jeremy Brown in Southeast Houston that housing was health care. Housing was health care. How can you, if you're somebody or your family, if you're Mercedes and you test positive for COVID and you're the head of a household and there's no way you can quarantine. There's no way you can quarantine if you're going through the eviction process or you're being thrown out of your house. It's inhumane. And it needs to stop. So I will end with that, but I just want to say thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you guys to share some of the work that we're going to do and some of the work that we'll continue to do from both a local and a state perspective. And just know that in our office and me, you'll have somebody that's going to try to protect Harris County and our local counties in a bipartisan way. The attacks that the governor and others have on local communities. I will not stand for it, and many of us will now stand for it. Thank you. God bless you. And I know we do have a camera in Spanish. I don't know if y'all want something quick. I'll be brief. Armando Wale, agradecido estar aquí con ustedes. Estamos promoviendo un programa de Stop Eviction, una página de web para disminuir, para reducir los desalojos en el condado de Harris. Ya sabemos que en el estado de Texas el gobernador Abbott tiene más de 11 mil millones de dólares en su presupuesto, pero hasta ahorita no sabemos qué cantidad de ese dinero está utilizando para los desalojos, para prevenir los desalojos. Entonces, con el trabajo del condado, ellos están haciendo un trabajo sumamente, profundamente buena para la comunidad en el condado de Harris. Han ya gastado como más de la mitad de los 400 millones de dólares que ellos recibieron del gobierno federal en prevenir la pobreza. Parte de eso es prevenir los desalojos. Entonces, estos desalojos son una manera para nosotros inhumano. O sea, es algo que cuando una persona está pasando por esa época o ese procedimiento, daña a esa familia, porque ¿dónde va a llegar a esa familia si ellos no tienen un hogar, no tienen una casa de donde vivir? Y para nosotros, el comisionado Adrián García y el condado de Harris ha trabajado duro para prevenir estos desalojos. Estamos trabajando con los sindicatos como Gulf Coast y el estado para prevenir los desalojos. Por eso es importante tener este número, esta página de web, para que las personas que están en ese procedimiento, que llaman a Lone Star Legal Aid. Tenemos un representante, un abogado que está trabajando en esta rama. Entonces, importante de tener ese número para llamar. Y yo creo que también no importa el estatus migratorio de esas personas. Ya sabemos que ese es un problema de muchas de nuestras familias. Entonces, para nosotros, queremos, parar los desalojos al nivel estatal. Estoy presentando un proyecto de ley para prevenir esos desalojos a nivel estatal, no solamente al nivel local, pero al nivel estatal, durante una pandemia o durante un desastre natural. Entonces, para nosotros también importante de prevenir estos desalojos, pero también para que no se dañe el crédito de la persona que están en este procedimiento, este proceso. Entonces, muy importante, trabajando con el gobierno local, que ellos están trabajando, la juez Lina Hidalgo, Rodney Ellis, Adrian García, están trabajando duro para nosotros, pero necesitamos liderazgo al nivel estatal, porque hasta la fecha queremos saber dónde esos fondos están, dónde están, ¿verdad? Y yo, como miembro del comité del presupuesto, estoy trabajando para saber dónde esos dólares se están gastando. Stop there, sorry. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce John Ross Trevino with the Lone Star Legal Aid, a great partner with labor and here for the working people.
Thank you. My name is John Ross Trevino. I'm an attorney with Lone Star Legal Aid. First, I want to thank Mercedes for sharing her story. She put a real face on the problem that our neighbors are facing and the problem that our communities are facing. So I want to just thank her again for her bravery in sharing her story with everybody. Lone Star Legal Aid has handled housing and tenant rights for over 4 decades, and we have experience assisting tenants through many disasters, including floods, hurricanes, and now the COVID-19 pandemic. In response to the pandemic, LSLA has started the Right to Counsel Unit, the first of its kind in the state of Texas. Our goal is to provide representation to all eligible tenants facing eviction. Even with the important news out of Washington that evictions would be delayed through the end of January 31st, 2021, we are well aware that less than 10% of Harris County tenants who were sued for evictions took advantage of the CDC protections available to them. That's less than 10% of tenants facing eviction. We encourage tenants who are being sued for eviction, and even tenants who are just needing to speak to a legal attorney, to call the Eviction Defense Coalition. Lone Star Legal Aid is working in partnership with Houston Volunteer Lawyers, South Texas College of Law, the Earl Carl Institute at TSU, and the University of Houston. When there's so much confusion about what laws are available to protect tenants, we are at the forefront of tenant protections. We can be reached at 1-800-733-8394 or online at stoptxeviction.org. Again, that number is 1-800-733-8394 or online at stoptxeviction.org. I encourage everybody who is facing this problem, this eviction crisis, to seek legal representation and get assistance. Thank you.
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank Mercedes for her story today, and definitely, like John said, we need to put a face to what's happening during this pandemic to all our working families and everybody that tries their hardest every week. And also like to thank, you notice this is a Christmas holiday season. The pandemic's not taking a holiday or vacation. And you notice our government officials are not taking a holiday either. They're here with us today because they are unapologetic in helping the working people, and they're great partners with labor at all times. Anytime we ask, they come. So I'd like to thank Commissioner Garcia, Commissioner Ellis, and Representative Wally for being here today. Thank you very much. Like I said, we're going to go door to door after the press conference so that we can start handing out information to the people that are high on the eviction notice, to let them know what their rights are and where they can seek help. But with that, I see if anybody has any questions for our government officials or Mr. Trevino or even Mercedes. Okay, well, thank you all very much. That concludes our conference. Thank you very much for being here.
Good job, Lacey.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Good job, man. Thank you. Good job, Lacey. Good job, man.
Good job, man. I'm gonna check out your park around. Come on.
We won't charge you much. We'll check.